reading at the dark end of the street, Black Women, Rape and Resistance, A New History of the Civil Rights Movement from Rosa Parks to the Rise of Black Power by Venita McGuire. And our sessions it started June 3rd and they last through July 29th. They are from 6:30 to
We need someone to read point number 9, and then the question 10A.
I can do that. Would you like me to do that?
Would you please?
Sure. Blacks and whites perceive the rape differently. Class issues. As if he was a soldier killed in action. Am I in the right place?
Yes.
As if he was a soldier killed in action in Vietnam, the paper eulogized Ali Good's service to the country and said he gave his life in the line of duty. I'm sorry. I had to hold myself. This chapter was too much for me. The line of duty. The newspaper failed to report that Ali Good had been found naked from the waist down while he was in the line of duty. Once word got out that the medical examiner had found semen on his thighs and that his yeah, that the medical, where are we? The medical examiner had found semen, okay, and was loaded with sperm.
Just say sperm.
Evidence that he died at the moment of sexual climax. Joan Little's claim that the sexually assaulted her gained credibility. However, since many whites still could not believe that a black woman could be raped, they fell back on old stereotypes to explain the unusual circumstances of Ali Good's death. Little was no Rosa Parks. And
skip that part, Venita.
Huh?
Venita, skip that part.
Okay. Where was I to go?
Just read question A.
If whites genuinely did not believe blacks were fully human in 1974, capable of being raped and experiencing pain like any other human being, it is likely that the legislation would be able to change their beliefs. If not, what would be effective at helping white people recognize the humanity of black people? Is it even important that they do? I can't see. Okay. Who wants to do that? Joan, what you think?
Anybody?
Well, it's quite apparent that, for, almost, been in this country almost 500 years, that they didn't believe that, blacks, African Americans, were even human. I think in the last chapter, civil rights activists said that, for centuries, African Americans had to achieve the status of human. So when Miss Little, when she was raped, it was nothing but a sign. That was going against her on social norms, her police records and, her, quote unquote dysfunctional family, so forth and so on. That's what made this particular case so amazing. I know this part of North Carolina. I've been through the town and the whole 9 yards. Just another rural town where these attitudes of people is kind of hard to change at that particular time. And to get them to change, you have to do something like, you know, that movie A Time to Kill, where he told the lawyer, he said, you have to make them believe it's your child, you know, a white child. So you have to bring that humanism in there in order for these juries to include you into the human race for you to even have a chance in the justice system.
I agree. This your question, Michelle, actually made me think of this, the Toni Morrison quote that For Harriet posted on their page. Did you see it a few days ago?
I don't think so.
Well, it just said the very serious function of racism is distraction. It keeps you from doing your work. It keeps you explaining over and over again your reason for being. Somebody says you have no language, so you spend 20 years proving that you do. Somebody says your head isn't shaped properly, so you have scientists working on the fact that it is. Someone says you have no art, so you dredge that up. Somebody says you have no kingdom, so you dredge that up. None of that is necessary. There will always be one more thing. So in terms of your question, is it even important that we do, or that they do recognize our humanity? Where I'm at now, if I would come across somebody like that, I have to recognize that I can't, there's absolutely nothing I can say. Because at this point, you're actively trying to be like this. And you actively don't want to see, because you cannot be living in this country and remotely aware of anything, you know, speaking English or anything, and not see that Black people are humans, you know, or and that what we go through in terms of racism and oppression is very real still. If somebody I come across is still stupid, I don't know. I don't think that it's our duty to convince them. I think it's our duty to focus on ourselves and help build each other up and focus on ways that we internalize racism to change that. But in terms of changing somebody else's feelings about my humanity, I just can't do it.
Hear, hear. I agree 100%. I agree with Randie 100%. We have too many other things to do. I cannot wear that on my shoulder. I am not trying to convince anyone that I'm human. I'm not trying to convince anyone that I'm Black and fabulous. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. Okay? If they don't get it by now, they're never going to get it. So we could be doing other things like elevating each other, as Randie said, doing things that make a difference in our own lives, both personally and also for the whole of humanity. Nobody has time for that. No. Those that believe what they believe is going to believe it anyway. And those that aren't going to keep it moving. So we need to keep it moving. We really do. We spend too much time on that. I'm going to tell you something very quick. An incident happened to me. I'll make it fast. I was talking to my son, my second one, Clint. He's now 26 years old. He was in middle school at that time. And we were just standing out there casually waiting for our children to come out of school. Bearing in mind, the ratio there was 98 to 2. And there was these couple... Yeah. And there were a couple of mothers standing out there. You know, they look like a typical suburban Caucasian women, you know, suit to the side, haircut, you know, with the scarlet lipstick on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was standing with a friend of mine, another Caucasian woman, very cool person though. And we were talking about the arts. And I was telling them how wonderful the arts are. And that we do have a few here. Not many. It's not a cultural place, but we have, you know, the Harper Symphony, you know, Real Arts Way. So one of them looked at me, you know, with one of these type things and says, well, I don't go into Harper. I said, well, Harper's only 9 minutes down the road here, 91 North. If you start out now, you'll be there at 5 o'clock. So she looked at me and said, well, I can't. I don't go to Harper. All the prostitution there and all the drugs there and the this and the that. And she went on and on and on. So, you know, she caught me on a good day, and it was her lucky day because it was a good one. So she said to me, I said, well, she says, and looked at me, and I mean, and I was, and, you know, if she'd have caught me 10 years before then, I might have thought a little differently. But you know, you come to a time and a point in your life where you just don't care. You know, ignorance is nothing you can do. They won't die. You can't kill them. They just want to be there. She looks at me and says, well, I'm sure that you can relate. So I was cool about it. I had to pat my own back. I said, well, you know, contrary to popular belief, we don't manufacture cocaine in the basement of my home. We eat spaghetti, and when we go to the bathroom, we sit down just like you. But remind you, if your husband stopped going to the city and paying 50 cents and bringing that stuff back home to you, if your uncles and your sons and your husband stopped going down there and buying the dope that they put there, then maybe we wouldn't have that kind of crime. And I also reminded her that it was her lucky day. You met a sane black woman. Write that down. You girls are lucky today. I am a sane black woman. And if you ever said that to the wrong woman, who may not be as collective as I am, then you might have a situation. Now, this, mind you, was in the 90s. And she said it to them, they said it to me a matter of factly like it was nothing. I can relate. So, no, we haven't come far at all. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I don't have time to prove anything with these folks. You got folks still thinking that in the 90s. You got people thinking that in 2014. We have other things to do. Meanwhile, it's not a lucky day.
Well, I'm glad it was her lucky day.
And I told her to go home and praise Jesus that I was the same woman. And girl, and I was having a good day that day. But I'm just trying to tell you that, Randie, because I do agree with you. You're not going to change folks. You know, you can enlighten them, and I did. And I let her know that that's not how we do it in my home. Now, I don't know what she read in books and saw on TV, but no, that's not how we do it. And the black folks I know don't do it that way either. You know. Anyway.
Well, I don't know. I guess I have mixed feelings because I don't have a clear answer to this question. On the other hand, on the one hand, I completely understand and agree with the feeling that you know, we don't have time to worry about what other people think about us. But on the other hand, when I think of people like Trayvon Martin and Renisha McBride, you know, just out for moving through their lives, and being killed by people who clearly did not see or value their humanity. So when I think about that sort of risk that we all face, and you know, before we went live tonight, Georgette and Venita and I were talking about our experiences as grandmothers. You know, and so it's just always with me that this is the world we're leaving our children and grandchildren, and you know, and it feels to me like we haven't really solved anything, but are in fact regressing in some significant ways. So I think it was naive, understandable, but naive to expect that the civil rights legislation on its own would be sufficient to, you know, you can't change what's in people's hearts by decree, by law. But I think whatever other step there needed to be, as a nation, we have not taken that step. And that is why we continue to go around in these circles. So, you know, someone wrote, I don't know if you guys saw this maybe about a week or so ago, someone wrote on our YouTube page, you mean you coons can read?
What?
And yeah, and I deleted the comment. I was not. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I believe that, those type of people you're not going to change, anyway. And I agree with Randie. Uh, Everything that she said. I was just, I look at, the part of being human, institutions, have to recognize us as being humans. The justice system in which we're into, somehow or another, when we go like like you said, Trayvon Martin, somehow or another, those people, they could not see a time to kill. They couldn't look at Trayvon Martin as being their child, and that's they won't give the African American male or the female a break when it comes to their life or when it comes to their body. That's what's going to be interesting. I'll listen to the dialogue about the book that the proposed book that we choose, if we choose medical. Was it racism? Is it catalyst? Is it about the money that caused the caste system of the medical system? Is it insurances, or is the apartheid unforgiving when it comes to races? I'm reading a story about experimentation on everybody, but that's going to be an interesting thing. Are people, are African Americans human in the medical system as or in the justice system?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I think it highlights the value of Joan Little's case, that was an acknowledgement of our humanity within the justice system, and a rare one at that. Anybody else on that question?
These things still happen in our justice system today. They haven't gone away.
Right.
I mean, it's not like women aren't being raped in our justice system today.
Yeah.
I just don't have an answer for that. However, oh man, it's exhausting.
I know.
This is the thing. Trayvon Martin is not the point of proving to society that we are human. The person that killed him knew he was human. But I mean, people that feel that way, you're not going to change them. If they want to change, they have to change themselves. Something extraordinarily unordinary has to happen to make them change. It's not going to be me.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I'm sure it's not going to be you.
Well,
I'm not sure that. Yeah, but I'm not sure that there's nothing that can be done. We haven't tried to do anything other than pass legislation, which has been fought tooth and nail from the day it was passed. We as a country have not actually made any other kinds of efforts. If we know, for example, that a baby is not born with hatred in their heart, then we know that hate is a learned emotion. And so if it can be learned, it can be unlearned. If it can be learned, we can be looking at what we are doing with babies from the day they come on earth that leads them to becoming either George Zimmerman or not. We haven't looked at the problem, I don't think, from that kind of an angle.
Well, and if I may, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think we can. I think individually, we can make a difference with people that we. So I always say that African American history, or this type of history, it's just not important to, you and me. Most of us, when we're learning, we have an interest in learning the history. The problem is is getting our contributions inside a mainstream, education, to find, to seek out a Caucasian that might be ignorant of, our contributions and whatnot. And I also have a personal challenge just to talk.
Excuse me, I can't hear you.
You understand what I'm saying? Or
I didn't hear what you said.
It's more important for that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but I didn't hear anything else that you said.
Can everybody else hear me?
I can hear you.
We can hear you now.
I hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it got a little garbled there for a minute.
Okay. It's important to, to have that moment with that child, that clean slate, those clean slate children, to let them know, what our contribution is all about, because that is our struggle now. Our cotton fields, we must struggle in the integrated society that we are in, to prove that we still are worthy of being there. A lot of times we look at it as being wasted energy. However, that's not your full, that shouldn't be your full, your sole purpose, but that is a purpose to prove twice as hard that you deserve to be there, whether they like it or not. I mean, I spent 22 years in the military in a system that tried to kick me out every day for service, and it was hard, but that's what it had to be. And I always thought about it because I had a lot of African American history in my background, and I was like, I had a grandfather, and I'm gonna tell you a quick story and I'm gonna go. I had a grandfather that was down in Florida. He could drive a tractor as a laborer. He was told, when nobody was there to drive the tractor, what they did, they wouldn't allow him, they finally allowed him to drive the tractor, but they took the seat out of the tractor, so he couldn't sit down. So I think about that kind of stuff, and I think about that kind of stuff, and I think about what we have to go through today, and I don't know, I just have that fight in me, about that particular thing, as you all do. I'm just not the only one, as we all do. But I think about those struggles, and I think about what we have now, and it just give me a little bit more strength to say something else to that Caucasian that don't.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just tired, Joel. Maybe I'm just a little tired of that. I raised two sons that are wonderful men, educated men. My first son, Aaron, is 37 years old, went to Wall Street about 8-9 years ago or more, and a trader in a meeting with all other Caucasian traders. He was the only one there, looked at him in front of everyone and said, "You know that you are a token black person here." You see what I'm saying? So, no, Joel, the problem I have, and yes, I am very angry with that, because I raised two wonderful sons, and they have to prove themselves from the time they was born, prove themselves in elementary school, be the top of the class, be the best, be well-mannered. They don't hold up 7-Elevens. It's this constant, explaining themselves. And sometimes it makes them angry. They actually get tired of having to prove something. Every day he gets up and goes out there, he has to prove something. He has to be at the top of his game. And yes, he does they both take the time to explain. But after a while, it just,
Oh yeah, I'm becoming that black man by the time I'm 70 years old. I'm just standing in the local grocery store meeting everybody. You understand? You ever seen that brother that seems like some say something to him, he just bang. That I can see that coming. And after you do get tired, it's kind of when you walk out your door, you are tired.
Yeah.
Man, that's I'm just sick of it. You know what I mean?
Bye.